She sat alone at the end of the auction room. Far from the others, far from the light, the chains around her wrists were thick, heavier than metal. Glowing with a dull blue shimmer, her eyes were lowered, and her head was bowed. No one came near her, not even the guards. The other slaves had been sold quickly. Thin ones, small ones. Beautiful ones all were taken. The buyers laughed, shouted, and waved credits in the air. But when their eyes looked at her, they went silent. One man even said, "She's too big. She break the walls." Another said, "Not even worth feeding," and the crowd moved on. She was over 8 feet tall, her skin smooth and bronze. Her shoulders were wide, and her legs looked like tree trunks. She wasn't ugly just. Too much, too strong, too heavy, too different. Her kind were known as Draharyuant's warriors, now sold as slaves. But even among them, she was too large. Unwanted, forgotten, she had been in chains since she was taken as a child. They said her body was wrong, not made for pleasure, not made for labor. They said she couldn't be bred, so they kept her locked up, selling her over and over. But every buyer returned her angry, calling her useless. Then one day, a new buyer stepped in, a human. He wore a brown coat, dust-covered boots, and a calm face. He said nothing, just looked around the room slowly. The auctioneer grinned and pushed forward a thin alien girl. "Pretty and obedient, sir. Only 500 credits." The man looked at her, then at the others, and then he looked past the crowd. His eyes stopped at the giant girl in chains. He walked toward her, ignoring the auctioneer. Ignoring the crowd, the guards stepped back, afraid of her, but the human didn't flinch. He looked up at her face, at the scars near her neck. He didn't stare in fear or disgust. Silence. Then he raised his hand. "I'll take her," he said. The auctioneer blinked. "Sir? That one?" "She's not functional, not obedient. She's breathing," the man replied. "That's enough for me." The room went quiet. Some laughed. Others whispered. "Must be a joke," someone said. But no one stopped him. Within minutes, the chain was unlocked, and the girl was pushed into his ship. She didn't resist. She didn't speak. She just waited for pain, for the whip, for the collar. But it didn't come inside the ship. She sat on the cold floor. The human brought her food, real food, not scraps. He left it near her and walked away. She didn't eat it first. She thought it might be poisoned. But the hunger burned inside her, so she ate slowly like a wild animal. Later, brought her a blanket, soft, clean, and large enough to cover her. He didn't throw it at her. He placed it beside her and stepped back. Still, he said nothing. Cruel still, he didn't touch her. Finally, she asked, her voice dry and low, "Why did you buy me?" The human looked up from his control panel, because no one else did. He answered, "That's not a reason," she whispered. "Maybe not," he said, "but it's mine." She didn't understand him. She had seen humans who bought slaves. For work or for pain, but this one treated her like she was alive that night. She wrapped herself in the blanket, her body still sore, her heart still afraid. But for the first time in many years, she didn't sleep on cold metal. She didn't fear a lash waking her up. She just closed her eyes and dreamed. Maybe this human was a fool. Maybe he was dangerous. But in that moment, he was the first person who didn't look at her like a monster. And that was the beginning of everything. Asterisk, the ship moved through dark space. Like a ghost, no sound, no destination, just silence. Inside, the girl sat in the far corner of the sleeping chamber. Wrapped in the blanket the human gave her, her knees were pulled to her chest, her head low. She hadn't spoken since that first night. She watched the human from a distance. He cooked, cleaned, and worked on his ship's controls, but he never shouted, never touched her, and never locked the door. It confused her. Slaves were supposed to obey. She had been told her whole life, "You are nothing but a tool. You are too big to be loved. Your kind can't even breed." And here she was, sitting in a ship that didn't smell like blood, wearing a blanket that didn't feel like chains. One day he placed food in front of her again. This time he sat across from her, not close, but not far either. The silence stretched between them like glass, ready to crack. She looked at him, her hands trembling. "I know what you're waiting for," she said, voice flat. The human raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean? You want something?" she muttered. They all did. He didn't answer. She stared at the metal floor, her words sharp like a knife. "My body's too big, human." "I'm not breeding material, Jack his name," she had overheard sighed softly. "You think that's why I bought you?" he asked. She didn't reply, her face turned red from shame. "Everyone said it," she whispered. "My hips are too wide, my organs too dense. I'm not made for it." Jack leaned back in the chair. He looked at her, not with hunger, but with something softer, something sad. "I didn't buy you for your body," he said. "I bought you because no one else would. That's not kindness," she snapped. "That's pity." "Maybe it is," Jack said. "Or maybe I just saw someone who didn't deserve to be thrown away." She looked up, her golden eyes wet. "No one ever looked at me without fear or disgust or interest," Jack shrugged. "I've seen monsters. Real ones. It's the kind that smile while hurting others." He nodded toward her. "You're not one of them." The ship beeped. Suddenly warning lights flashed. He stood and walked to the console. Tapping buttons quickly, she stayed seated, stunned, heart racing. What was this man? Why wasn't he like the others? Later that night, as the engines hummed quietly, she approached the medbay. She stood in the doorway, watching Jack patch a cut on his arm. He didn't notice her at first. She spoke softly, like wind through leaves. "What if you're wrong about me?" Jack looked up. "What if I am?" he said, smiling. "I'd rather be wrong with hope than right with hate." She didn't move, didn't speak, but something deep inside her, something frozen for years, began to melt. Not all at once, just a single drop. That night she didn't sleep in the corner. She moved closer to the hallway, still far, but not hidden. She stared at the stars through the window and wondered what it would be like to be touched not as property, but as a person. Maybe this was still a trick. Maybe the kindness would turn to cruelty like it always did. But for now, she had food, she had warmth, and someone who called her more than just a body. She didn't know his story yet, but she wanted to, because for the first time, she wanted someone to see her, not her size, not her strength, but her. And that terrified her more than any chain ever had. The stars outside the ship were quiet, but her heart was not. She had started sleeping closer to the hallway, closer to Jack. Not out of trust, but out of something scarier. Hope. She still didn't know what he wanted from her. But whatever it was, he hadn't asked for it yet. That scared her more than violence. Because kindness always came before the trap. Then it happened. The ship lights dimmed, alarms flashing red. A cold voice spoke from the console. "Incoming signal detected. Bounty alert. Cluster target. Live capture only." Her body froze. She knew that code. She had lived under that code for years. Jack turned toward her. She was already backing away, hands shaking, breath caught in her throat. You sold me out," she whispered, eyes wide. "No," Jack said quickly. "This isn't me. Someone tracked the ship." "Don't lie," she snapped. "Everyone lies." A blast rocked the ship, systems flickering. Jack rushed to the controls, piloting them through asteroid dust outside. A Hunter-class ship followed fast, branded with the mark of the old masters. The same people who chained her when she was a child. She stood there, trembling. Not because she was afraid to fight, but because she didn't know who Jack truly was. He looked back at her, and for the first time raised his voice. "If I wanted to sell you, I'd be rich already," he yelled. "But I'm here, flying through hell, keeping you out of a cage." Her breath caught. "You're risking your life." "For me?" Another blast hit them. Jack pressed a red button, activating the ship's countermeasures. The rear turret fired back, disabling the enemy just long enough to escape. When silence returned, they floated through cold space. Breathing heavy, skin damp with sweat, she collapsed to the floor. Her body was too heavy, too tired. Her voice cracked. "They won't stop. They'll hunt me until I'm dead." Jack kneeled beside her. "Then I guess we keep flying," he said softly. She looked into his eyes. No lies, no fear, just calm. I don't understand you. She said, voice low. Good, he replied. If you did, I'd probably be doing something wrong for the next 3 days. They drifted through old star lanes, hiding in wreckage fields. Jack taught her how to read navigation charts, how to scan for enemy signals. She was sharp fast to learn, faster to fight. He wasn't training her like a soldier. He was giving her a skill. You should know how to survive, even if I'm not around, he said. That night, she stood beside him in the cockpit, her arms folded across her chest, eyes glowing under starlight. I always thought freedom meant being alone, she said quietly. But now, I think it means being with someone who doesn't own you. Jack glanced at her. I don't own you, he said. I know, she whispered. That's why I stayed. He smiled, just a little. And for the first time in her life, she smiled back, but far across space. The signal had already been sold to 10 other hunters. Her past was not done chasing her. Her body too big, too strong was marked as a high-value asset. But now she had a ship. A man who stood between her and the chains, and a fire inside. Her chest she never knew she had. She would not go back. Not again. Astra's space was quiet again. But the silence inside the ship wasn't peaceful. It was the kind that made hearts beat louder, made thoughts grow heavier, and made memories crawl back from the dark. She sat on the lower bunk, staring at her hands. So big, so rough, so wrong. They had always told her, you'll crush anything. You touch, your hands aren't for holding, only hurting. But Jack never said that. Across the room, Jack was cleaning a wound on his shoulder. A sharp bit of scrap had sliced him during their escape. He grunted softly, pulling off his jacket. The muscles on his back moved with every breath, strong but not heavy. She watched him, unsure why. He looked like a soldier, but spoke like someone who'd rather fix things than fight. He looked over his shoulder. You okay? He asked, voice calm. She nodded slowly. I'm not used to quiet, he smiled. Me neither. There was a pause. Then she stood, not knowing why, not thinking, just moving. She walked toward him slowly, step by step, until she stood behind him, close enough to hear him breathe, close enough to see the scars on his back, not fresh ones, old ones. The kind you don't get from accidents, the kind you carry from your past. She reached out her hand, then stopped. Her fingers shook. She had never touched anyone without permission. No one had ever wanted her to. Jack looked back slightly. He didn't flinch, didn't move. He just said, you can, that's all. Just 2 words. But they broke something inside her. She touched his shoulder gently, like her fingers might shatter him, but he didn't break. He didn't move away. He stayed still, letting her hand rest there. Her voice cracked. I don't know what I'm doing. Jack turned slowly, meeting her eyes. You don't have to know. He said you just have to feel. She pulled her hand back quickly, ashamed, scared, confused. I'm sorry, she whispered. Shouldn't. Jack stood, not too close. I'm not afraid of you, he said. I never was. Her chest ached. Tears burned behind her eyes. You should be, she said. I'm not normal. I'm not soft, I'm not. She looked down at her thick arms, her heavy form. I'm not what men want. Jack stepped closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. Maybe I'm not like other men. And then he touched her, just a light touch on her forearm. His hand was small compared to hers. But it didn't feel weak. It felt steady. Her heart thudded, not in fear, but something she couldn't name. For the first time in her life, someone touched her without pain, without taking, without demand. She turned away, breath shaking. He didn't chase her. He just said one thing before walking to the other room. You're not broken. And those 3 words echoed louder than all the screams from her past. She sat down again, this time closer to the light, closer to him, closer to something she didn't understand yet, but wanted to. The ship landed on a quiet moon, a human trade outpost, half metal, half rock. It was a place to rest, refuel, and stay hidden. But even the shadows here had eyes. Jack powered down the engine, then turned to her. We need supplies, he said. Just walk beside me, she nodded, but her chest was tight. Her kind didn't walk freely in human space, especially not one as large as her, especially not with a human at her side. As they stepped out, the air felt sharp. People stared immediately. Whispers followed like cold wind. Is that a Drahari? Why's he with her? She's not even the right species. She heard every word, felt every look like a needle. Old fear crawled up her spine. Her first instinct was to step back, to hide, but Jack didn't let go of her hand. He walked. Through the crowd like nothing mattered, head high, eyes calm. And when a group of humans blocked their path, one man sneered, "You bringing beasts here now, buddy?" Jack didn't blink. "She's not a beast," he said. "She's with me." That silence was louder than a gunshot. The man stepped aside, eyes burning. But he didn't say another word. They kept walking, her hand still in his, though it shook. She whispered, "Why did you say that?" "Because it's true," Jack answered. "I don't care who's watching." They entered a small shop for parts. The owner refused to look at her, spoke only to Jack. "She stays outside," he muttered. Jack stared at him for a long moment, then turned around and left. "I'll buy somewhere else," he said. And they walked out together. She didn't speak until they reached a quiet alley. "You're going to get yourself hurt," she said. Jack chuckled. "I've been hurt before," she shook her head. "No, not from fights from them, from society." He looked at her with eyes that never seemed to flinch. "Then let them be uncomfortable," he said. "I'm not letting go of you to make strangers feel better." Her throat tightened. Oh. No one had ever chosen her in public. No one had ever faced shame for her. She had always been the shadow. The mistake the cargo people hid. But now she stood under the sky, beside a man who didn't hide her. Didn't lower his voice, didn't flinch at her height. Didn't walk ahead to avoid being seen with her that night, in the ship's small lounge. They sat close together, not touching, but not far either, just breathing the same air. Just being. She turned her head slowly. Her golden eyes met his. "Do you know what people would do to you if they knew how you looked at me?" Jack gave a soft smile. "They already know," he whispered. "And I still don't care." She laughed, quiet, broken, but real. And in that moment, the world outside their ship faded, all the hate, all the whispers, all the rules. Because love didn't need permission. It only needed courage, and Jack had enough for both of them. The night was long and still. The stars outside the window blinked like cold eyes. Inside the ship, everything was quiet, but her heart was loud. Too loud to sleep, too full to rest. Jack was asleep in the captain's chair, his head tilted back, his jacket pulled over him like a blanket. She watched him silently. His chest rose and fell. Steady and peaceful. He looked so calm, so human, and she was not. She walked into the medbay, turned on the scanner, placed her hand inside the pod and waited. Green light scanned her veins, her organs, her core. The screen blinked, same result as before. Drahari class 3 female, breeding incompatible. She lowered her head. She had known this since her teen years. Her kind were born strong but broken inside. Her womb could not support life. Her body was too big, too heavy, too complex. She had never cared until now, until him, later, when Jack woke up. She was sitting alone in the ship's dark hallway, her back against the wall, her arms folded. He sat beside her without saying a word. He could tell something was wrong after a long silence. "She spoke, Jack," she said quietly. "There's something you should know." He nodded, waiting. Her voice shook. "I can't give you children." Jack blinked, then looked at her, confused. "What?" "I'm not able to," she said. "My species. We were designed for war, not for family." She laughed bitterly. "My organs don't work the way they're supposed to. No egg bonding, no safe womb, nothing." She stared at the wall. "I thought you should know before you make a mistake, Jack." Leaned back, let out a slow breath, then said something that stopped her heart. "So what?" She turned to him. "What?" He looked at her gently. "I didn't fall in love with you because I wanted kids," he said. "I fell in love with you because you're you." She shook her head. "You don't understand. I'm broken." "No," he said firmly. "You're hurt, not broken." She looked away. tears building behind her eyes. "All my life I thought I was a mistake," she whispered. Jack reached out, placed a hand on hers. "You were never a mistake," he said. "You were just waiting for the right place to belong." She bit her lip. Her heart felt like it was on fire, not from pain, but from something so warm, so deep. It scared her more than any battle ever had. He moved closer. This time she didn't pull away. She rested her head on his chest, felt his heartbeat, steady and real. They stayed there for hours. Saying nothing, only the stars watched. Only the quiet hum of the ship listened. He had seen every scar on her skin. He had heard every truth she hated about herself. And still, he chose her, not as a fantasy, not as a slave, but as someone to love. She closed her eyes, and for the first time, dreamed of a future, even if she couldn't give him a child. She could give him everything else, her strength, her loyalty, her whole heart. What neither of them knew was that life's strange wild life was already growing. Where no one believed it could, a miracle had begun, hidden and silent, waiting for the right moment to be seen. The lights flickered, the ship shook, alarms were blaring. But something was wrong, not outside, inside her. She grabbed the railing, gasping. Pain spread across her stomach, then her spine. She dropped to her knees, breath heavy, fingers digging. "Into the floor, Jack," she whispered. "Something's wrong." He ran to her, eyes wide with fear. "What happened?" I don't know," she said. "It hurts." Inside me, he lifted her up, carried her straight to the med bay. Her body was burning hot, her breathing sharp. Jack didn't waste a second. He activated the scanner. She screamed, lights blinked. Data rushed across the screen, then silence. Jack stared at the results, his mouth opened, but no words came out. She looked at him, confused. "What is it?" she gasped. "Is it something broken?" Jack dropped to his knees in front of her, tears in his eyes. "No," he said, voice trembling. "You're not broken. You're pregnant." She blinked. "No. That's not possible. The scanner says otherwise," Jack whispered, smiling through tears. "You have a life growing inside you?" She froze. Her entire world spun sideways. Her mind screamed, this had to be wrong. She couldn't be. Breeding material, her body had never worked. Everyone told her she was empty. But now, a heartbeat pulsed softly inside her. Not hers. Theirs. Jack placed his hand gently on her stomach. "Do you feel it?" he asked. She nodded, tears spilling from her golden eyes. "I feel it," she whispered. "I'm scared." He pulled her into his arms. "I am too," he said. "But we'll face it together." The girl once sold as useless, once mocked, chained and forgotten, was now carrying something the galaxy said she'd never have. Hope, family, a future. Months passed. They hid among old moons. Built a new life far from those who hunted her. She grew stronger, more confident. Her body, once hated, now protected the most precious thing she'd ever known when the baby was born. She cried like she never had before. A sound she didn't know her heart could make. Jack held their child half human, half Drahari. Small, soft, perfect. He looked at her with pride. "You gave me the greatest thing in the galaxy," he whispered. She touched her baby's cheek. "No," she said. "We gave each other the one thing we both needed. Love." The baby blinked up at them with golden eyes, just like hers, and smiled. The girl who had once believed she wasn't made for love was now a mother, a partner, a woman who had rewritten the fate the universe forced on her. And she knew one truth now. Her body had never been too big to love. It had just been waiting for the right arms to hold it, the right heart to understand it, and the right soul to build a future with. Together, they had done the impossible. And that was only the beginning.